welcome to another episode of Dawncast. And I'm really thrilled this morning to have another wonderful, diverse talent on our show. And his name is Jason Hoeung. Oh, God, I'm so sorry. How did I pronounce it right, Jason?
That's
what is that?
It's Hoeung.
Hoeung?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, Jason Hoeung.
Yeah.
And Jason is the founder of a company called Two Eros. Is that right, Jason?
You said it perfectly.
I'll throw it to Jason and welcome to Dawncast.
Thank you, Dawn. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And tell me about Two Eros. What's Two Eros? It's kind of, there's some Eros
Yes.
behind it.
Yeah, well, I came up with the logo first because I'm a graphic designer by trade. That's my undergraduate degree. And I came up with these two rings that's put together. And initially it was meant to be zeros. So this is an inside scoop.
Inside scoop.
Yeah. So the original name actually was Zeros, but because of marketing purposes, people were typing Zeros in the field. And so we quickly jumped on that and had to reframe that idea. When you split it up, it says two Eros, being to the Greek god of love, which is very fitting for our brand.
But it wasn't intentional, was it?
It was. Yeah. Now it has a double meaning. Yeah. It's two zeros put together that represents the assets, and then it's two eros being a gift to the Greek god, which is the god of love.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's just perfect for us.
So tell me your journey. How did you come to found Two Eros? What made you do that?
I always wanted to do fashion, and my parents are in the fashion industry, and they've been working in there ever since we've migrated to Australia. And when we were young, I had a lot of interest in that field, but being protective parents and wanting to make sure that the kids had a good education, I guess a lot of stereotypes, a job that will be somewhere more educational and secure, like a doctor or a lawyer, something like that. And I was not anywhere near that field. And I think, living and breathing the fashion industry with my parents, I kind of like already had a lot of interest in that. So when I went to study, I didn't have the opportunity to take on fashion design because my parents were very certain that it's not the career path. It's just you won't have a career in it. So I studied graphics as an alternative. But I've from then I just explored the fashion side of things while I was still studying graphic design. I entered competition. So when our college started to do design competitions for the fashion school and class, everyone would enter, and so would I. But I was not from their class. And the funny thing is, I actually made it to the finals as a top 10 in New South Wales on L'Oreal Fashion Week for coming up with a new concept of carrying phones on, like, phoneware.
Right.
And no one in that class, in that division actually made it through.
Right.
And they didn't publish it, which was so weird.
They didn't publish it?
No, L'Oreal published it as saying that I was from the school.
Yeah.
But that school had no one from the team came out of it. So I thought that was quite funny.
Oh, my gosh.
But I had a few opportunities to have that. And I thought, hey, I must have something in fashion. So I kept on designing anyway. And I did it behind their back. I've started the brand. I've registered the brand, registered the company, designed 3 designs and 3 colors each, which is only 9 pieces, which is so small. And I launched. But I launched just right before I launched, I went up to my dad and I said, I need $30,000. And he says, no. and then I presented what I've got, and it was quite refined.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, I'll invest in this, and this is your gift. And from then on, we just kept on growing to where we are now.
Well, before we get to the growth of that Two Eros, you said that your parents were in the fashion or trade or rag trade, as I would say, I would assume, and they migrated here. When did they migrate here, and how old were you? Can you give me a bit of background about that?
Yeah, I was 2 years old. We migrated from a camp in Thailand. I was born there, and in 2000, sorry, not 2000, 1983, we arrived in Australia.
So you escaped. So you left Cambodia. Is that right? So your parents left Cambodia to go to Thailand.
Yeah, that's right. So I was not part of the whole journey. So I was conceived in a camp. So I didn't experience any of the traumas that they went through. When I was born there, I didn't remember anything. So I don't have any memory of what has happened. But I read a lot and I've seen a lot. So
Have they shared with you that period of their lives in camps in Thailand?
yeah, they have. And as I grow up, I meet people who are from my generation that was born there as well, and their parents, and we go back to Cambodia all the time, and they always share histories and stories about, what has happened to them and what made them work so hard and why they care so much about building a life for the family, and I think that's where the struggles with them come from. So, when they say, you got parents that are quite strict and quite set in their ways and the way to deliver their child, I guess they missed out a certain part of their lives that they can't get back. And the way they see it is, you've got all this opportunity here, why aren't you just taking it by the horn and running with it? I never had it. So when they gave that to me, I guess when I was younger, I didn't see that. But when I start developing myself and my business, all that's coming back to me now. It's like they're setting me up on something that I never knew I needed yet. Yeah.
So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Lansvale and primary school. And then we moved to, Lansvale, Cabramatta, then Botterick Heights. And then after uni, I moved to Chippendale. So we're now in and around that area. Yeah.
And what was? Do you remember that your I suppose your the years of going to school in that area, and what it was like growing up, with a family, I suppose, that came here with nothing, and kind of rebuilding their lives. Do you recall what it was like for you?
Yes, I do, and I start thinking about that more now. When they say, how does it feel for me? I think, on hindsight, I was lucky. I didn't feel, although our parents started off really poor, I didn't feel poor. My parents worked really hard. We didn't have a lot, but at stages, as their skill set starts to grow, as their business, they start off as working for other people in factories and stuff. But I don't know how they developed it, but they managed to have a knack of business. So they started selling, having their own offices and warehouses, and at the time you did what you did to start a business, and they seemed to manage and work and provide for us. And when we were young to when we were hitting high school, it's a huge difference from having almost nothing to having a house that they lived in, paid for, renovated. And I thought, I didn't actually really see the hardship that they put through. We know they worked really hard. I knew that I had to help out a lot, so I did. Our family worked from day to night to day. So the clothing business in Australia was
cutthroat, isn't
very
it?
cutthroat. Yeah, and people need stuff yesterday, or if you're late, you get fined. So making sure the garments get completed by 12 o'clock the next day and into the warehouse, the brand's warehouse, was highly important. So the hardship that I received on hindsight wasn't hard. They had it really hard. And now seeing them as they get older, having all these health conditions based on, lack of sleep, hardworking. My dad's got a lot of issues too. And, that's because they haven't had a healthy lifestyle. Was overly worked and less on themselves and more on trying to build some sort of a wealth to allow the kids to have something when they pass away. And seeing that more now, I'm like, this is crazy. I'm in that stage now and I'm reflecting on it. It means more to me, a lot more now than it ever did.
So watching that growing up, was there part of who they are in terms of the way that they behave and the way that they were thinking that obviously influence you in the workplace or with what you do? Obviously hardworking is something that obviously you've kind of mirrored. The rag trade is something that you kind of mirrored too. But were there other traits that you learned from that you maybe said to yourself, I'm not going to do that because I've seen it and how it has been to my parents?
Yes. The way they ran the business and the way we run our business is very different. But with that said, they had no training. They learned everything on the spot. They learned how to run a business without even anyone showing them. They didn't go to business school. I did. They didn't get training on how to manage people. I did. So for what they have achieved with what they've got, I think they've done pretty well. But at the same time, when I was lucky enough to share the same warehouse with my parents because they're in the manufacturing, and when we started our business, we need to stock our stock. So as an exchange, I would help my dad with his business. And watching him run his business does show me there's ways that you could do things differently. But he did also show me there's also ways to get things done, if you know what I mean. So knowing both sides of how management works and knowing when to say, things need to be done, then there's a way of doing that.
Can you give me an example, a small example?
Okay, so I do struggle with being firm, but my dad, he's quite firm. He's quite direct and knows exactly what he wants. And his delivery is straight up. And there's no filters. So
That's not a very typical Asian thing, isn't it?
well, I don't know. I didn't know for what my dad does. So when I guess it is, right?
Because Asian is kind of I'm generalizing
Right.
here, but some people from an Asian background would probably not be as direct. Some are, but some will kind of they get to the direct point, but afterwards. But anyway, go on.
I think my parents are very similar. Both personalities are very similar. So they're very strong-headed. So well, that's the only thing I saw. They're when they want things. My mom's softer in her approach, very soft, but she's direct and clear. My dad is just straight up the line. If there's frustration and anger in that, you'll get it. If he's happy and he's in a good mood, you'll get it. So the good thing about that is that you're clear on where you stand with things. The team knows when the business is good or when the business is bad. When things are late, when things are urgent, it's clear. It's all in his face. And that's how he runs his business.
And how big was his team?
His team, he had in its prime, he had about 9 presses, 4 packers, a few seamstresses to fix things up. This is in the later stage. Hang on. So there's 2 stages in his business: the manufacturing side and the post-production side. When the manufacturing side of the business starts to slow down, they had to find something else to do. They were lucky enough to get on the quality control side. So when things get imported to Australia, it gets pressed, QC'd, altered if it needs to be, if it's faulty and stuff, and then it gets packed and then sent back to them. Prior to that, it was manufacturing. Yes, and manufacturing was more than that. So he had a lot of seamstress inside the warehouse itself, and the presses are all in the warehouse. So about 20 or so people then, right? And in post-production, about 15. So, yeah.
And did you work at all in the business with them, or did you help them, or that they made you focus on your studies so that you can do other things other than the rag trade?
Oh, we worked. So if you're talking about my early days, yeah, I'll be helping cutting cotton. I learnt how to sew in a straight line. Overlocking and buttonhole.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know how to do all that with the machines and all. When they're busy, I would just work till about 12 o'clock with them, and then we'll probably sleep on a pile of clothes in the warehouse while they work till the morning. And then
What about your schooling?
and then we'll get up, and there's a shower in the factory. We'll shower sometimes, or sometimes we go home, and then we'll go to school. And then after school, because my parents, had to work, there are times that they have forgotten us. Whoops.
Naturally.
And then, so, but,
How many siblings did you have?
two, my sister and I.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So then you guys would have to kind of, look after yourself to go to get yourself to school.
No, my mum and dad will always drop me off at school and pick me up.
Right.
On the rare occasions they have forgotten or late, which is quite memorable as a kid, being left there and the last one waiting at the bus stop, the crossing, and then the lady said, "Okay, you can come to the office with us now."
And did that impact your schooling, like having to work and study? Like how did you manage that?
I think it's fine. It's not every day. I think working, I find it that you make it work, and when you're a family that's trying to change your life, then you make sacrifices.
But you didn't think like that as a teenager.
As a kid, I was
as
like,
a teenager, I mean, wouldn't you kind of frustrated that you had to go to?
oh, as a teenager, it was a little bit different. So this is when we were like pre-high school. We're talking about high school. Yes, we help out every now and then, but no, study was a priority. So we will get home and make sure we did our studies. On the weekend and a little bit here and there if they needed to, yes, we'll go and help them out. But they were very big on studies. And so when we get to high school, we got tutors, so they can afford to get us tutors in to make sure that we, because I hate studying. So, we've got tutors in and making sure that we get that part sorted. So, no. So that was mainly in the early days when they were trying to get themselves to a certain level of financial security for them. That's when work was really important. Once we got to high school, that's when I told you they've started to get some funds into their family, and then they were able to provide private schooling for us. We went to private schools, and they made sure that we got really good education. They wanted us to have, went to the good universities and all. So they had big ambitions for us, and this is how I turned out.
Well, we don't know how you turn out yet.
Right.
Look, it looks good from where I am sitting, and so you obviously, would you say that your teenage years to become an adult, your parents wanted you to so focus on study and to successfully study well. Did you find that you did well in school and going to university, that the transition was seamless, that there were no issues?
That's a very interesting question. I never had to look at it that way. I was not a book person. I was not into maths, although I was okay at it. I wasn't into maths, I wasn't into history. I love geography, and I love arts. And the stuff that I really wanted to do, my parents were reluctant. So all the creative side of my schooling is what I was really good at. So from year 7 to year 9, all the compulsory art subjects and design technology subjects were like, I was excelled in. I was like top 1, top 2. And then when it comes to selecting my HSC, my parents were like, no, don't do art. Don't do design and technology. Don't do any of the creative stuff.
Yeah.
And so I said, look, okay, I'll do design and technology. I won't do art.
Yeah.
Although I know I would have done well. So if I did what I think that I could have done better in, I would have done better in my HSC. But I don't see what they done was wrong. They had good intent, and I guess it made me fire up more. I guess as I got older, I go, no, I really want to do what I want to do. Yeah.
And what did you end up studying at university?
Visual communications.
Right.
So majoring in digital media and graphics.
And did they get that? Did your parents think, what the hell is that?
They said, "What? How you won't get paid designing stuff that well? You won't go anywhere." But I said, this is what I do enjoy, and they got it. They got it. So my parents are strict, but they're quite reasonable.
Do you think that's because of age, or do you think that's because of you being so strong and passionate about what you wanted to do that got them to agree?
Yeah, I think it's my passion because if I wasn't fighting for it, I probably wouldn't got it. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I guess they have an idea of where they want their child to be, and if the child's not happy, he won't get there anyway. So lucky for me, they saw that, and I actually applied because I went to a private design school as well. And
so after uni, you went to private design school?
So no, after high school, I applied for a scholarship through the design school, and I got half a scholarship from it. So they go, oh, okay, so he must be creative. And straight after high school, I won a backpack designing competition. So I go, okay, so maybe he is creative. So all the designs part of my life have all the tick boxes that says, I can design. So they kind of just say, yeah, okay, right, you can design, go ahead. So I went to design school, and then after that I did my MBA at UTS because I had no business sense. I had good creative sense, but I have no business sense.
Right.
And then when I finished my MBA, I said, I want to start my brand. I had the goal that I want to start a business. Right. And I knew that I didn't have any knowledge of business. I knew how my dad ran his business, but I don't want to run my business that way. And I'm pretty sure there was a different way. So I went to do my MBA. After that, while I was doing my MBA, I was working as a experiential design lead at an events firm. And I became the experiential design lead, like the junior version of the senior, so if you know what I mean. Yeah. So it's that title, but I was a junior in that role, but I was getting paid as a junior, less than the senior graphic designer, but the role is above here. But what I gained was a lot of experience, and that's how I grew quite quickly. So I knew that.
So they knew that your talent was there,
but my experience.
But your experience, like in terms of working, was there. So they got you to do the work of that level,
paid at this level.
Paid at this level. And with the person that gets paid at that level, what were they doing?
So this is the graphic designer, senior graphic designer, experiential design lead. Experiential design lead is the guy that comes up with the concepts and the theme, and they get approved by the client. And then you send that through to the senior graphic designer, and the senior graphic designer may give it to the graphic designer. I started off here because I started quite young. And from there, I was so ambitious because I was coming up with ideas for my boss. My boss is up here. And I skip this person. That's the senior graphic designer. Right. So I'll be working under the senior graphic designer's direction. But every time a pitch comes through, I said, have you ever thought of this? Have you ever thought of this? Have you ever thought of this? And then she's always coming back to consult me
Yep.
instead of consulting the senior designer. So instead of working directly with her, she started to work directly with me to a point where she says, all right, why don't you pitch? Why don't you write your own document? Why don't you come up with your own ideas? So we did. I came up with one. She came up with one. She pitched both, and mine got accepted. She did it again, and mine got accepted, and she did it again. And to a point where...
Did that cause any friction?
No, she loved it because...
No, with the...
Yeah, definitely. Because I was the youngest one in the team when I started.
So how did you deal with it? So tell so you're skipping that person, going directly when you started here.
Yeah.
There must have been a huge, like there was some sort of dynamics that could have...
Oh, I had to deal with it for at least a year or so. And when I started to shift roles to there and telling this designer what to do, it comes with a bit of angst. It's like, why aren't you doing it? You're a graphic designer too. I said, I don't have time. I said, I have to work on another document. He said, well, that can go on back on my list. And I go, okay, just let me know when you're ready. I'll put it down so I can let my senior know. And she says, when do you need it? I said, oh, if you could do it by the end of tomorrow. He said, all right, I'll do it by the end of tomorrow. As long as I just put it, if I link it back to my senior, then she's responsible, or he or she is responsible for the late delivery of that project, because I technically am not the designer for it. Yep. I'm just the lead now. So that's how I dealt with it. I try not to put the responsibility back on myself, because at the end of the day, it's not for me, it's for my manager. Yeah. So I said, it's up to you when you want to do it. This is the deadline. You tell me, and I'll just relay the information back. And a few times after that, I think they just kind of just go, yeah, it's fine.
So did you find that there was a cohesion in that teamwork, like in that team? Eventually. Right.
Yeah. I think I guess approach is also important too. If you're just all of a sudden just get up there, and then your approach to this person that you used to work with is quite obnoxious and disrespectful, and you're demanding things even though you know that it needs to be delivered. Yeah, of course they're going to come back to you and go, no, I don't want to help you out. So, and I think she did, the team did not dislike who I am, so we got along. I think it's just
what was it about you, do you think? How did you approach? I mean, like, what space were you coming from? I mean, when you went to talk to that senior graphic designer?
Oh, I knew there's going to be something there. I knew, and I can feel it, because who would want anyone younger or junior to supersede you in any role? You work there for so long. You work hard, and you hope that you get further in the company. You don't expect someone that just came in younger than you to jump hoops. And I knew that's going to be sensitive, so I need to find a different approach, but I still need to get my work done. So without me I don't want to entertain that idea. It means that I don't want to entertain the idea that she is upset that or he is upset that I kind of went around. I don't want to talk. I don't want even to get into that discussion, because it's not a discussion that I can answer. So I don't know. It's not my decision. We all want to climb and make the best for ourselves. So the best way to do it is just to get the job done, keep friendship, and keep work. So when we were not working, we were really good friends. So we'll go out, after work drinks. So we'll be fine. It's just the tensions at work. So when it's at work, I try to keep it work-based.
How do you do that, though? I mean, there are people who will be listening to say, well, how can you keep work, and how do you keep friends if you work together?
Yeah.
How do you do that? What are some of the tips that you think people should take in to what advice would you give somebody in your position? Like, what do they have to be, or what do they have to do in order to maintain the separateness of being professional, but then if they have that relationship outside of work, to have, so what would some of the tips be?
So, so I'm going to try to relate it to my business now, so it's easier for me to think in that mind frame because my team is quite young, and the eldest one is probably not too far from my age as well. So when we're talking about business and KPIs and meeting our targets, we're talking about business. I'm going, when I'm on your back about not meeting your KPIs or not hitting our targets or not doing what's right for the business, I'm not coming across to you because I don't like you or think that, you know, there's something about you that's wrong. I'm talking about structure. I'm talking about processes. I'm talking about stuff that you commit to the business. And so when I come to you upset at a job, I'm not upset at you. I'm upset by your tasks. So why have you not achieved it? So if you clearly lay that out at the beginning and you reinforce it, because I do sometimes forget, that they get reminded and they'll be more job focused during the work time. And then we have a lot of social chats, which is fine. And then when you go outside, we do a lot of after work drinks as well. And so our team hang out on a Friday afternoon, just chatting in the office, drinking, chatting in the office. And that's when we all build our relationship. And that's when you see more of me and each other outside of their strict facade when they're at work. Because when they're a little bit more relaxed, they're actually more willing to ask you personal questions. They get to know you a bit better. They know the reason why you do things, and they will ask you candid questions about work or even about yourself during that time. They wouldn't dare to ask during work hours because they're trying to keep that professional. But when they're a bit more relaxed and you get to understand why they do certain things and vice versa, why I do certain things, they then tend to understand when you do ask for things that the personal side is generally left at not even in the conversation.
How big is your team?
Not big.
Okay.
So we've got a team of 4, including myself.
Yeah, same. I think we've got a small team.
Yeah.
So it's not different.
Yeah.
And so for you, I suppose the advice will be to set the key performance indicators, like the tasks that they have to perform. And then you obviously monitor that, or you work together to say, look, have you met this and have you met that? Is that basically, and then you keep that within that working hours to just focus on the tasks that have to be achieved around that period of working. And then after that, you saying that people can then relax, you know, at the end of the week and talk about other things other than work.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it, but it's not strictly just work at work. That's not work. It's for us at least. If you don't enjoy your work, you won't do good work. And I guess where I'm trying to say is your after work drinks is when you can get into deeper about someone's personal their insights, why they do certain things, their behavioral traits. Usually when they're in work mode, they're quite focused already. And during that, I don't want them to be completely stiff. You know, we still chat, we still banter, we have a lot of downtime, which is fine as long as we meet our KPIs. What I'm trying to say is how we keep that relationship going is, if you understand each other on a personal level, the way they deliver their information, the way they think about certain situation comes 2 ways. You can understand how your team is approaching the concept, the idea, or the argument, and just say, I don't know you, and then all of a sudden you come up to me and say, I hate this idea, right? And without knowing your intent, your behavioral style, without knowing your background or history, I will say, why are you shutting me down? What's wrong with this? You know, if I know how you come across, it's like, yeah, okay, you had an experience, you worked at this company, you did this, you've done this before, you did this. You're quite adamant it won't work. So then I'm going, oh, okay, so it's probably through experience. So knowing the background of that person makes it a lot easier when they come to communicate to you in any tone that may be challenging, I guess, or not challenging. It's just easier to work with someone that you know their background for. That's why I'm saying, if I go back to that lady I'm just gonna say her because I remember her vividly. You know, she would, yeah. By knowing her background, I actually empathize with her. So my approach to that situation was very sensitive. So if she wasn't, you know, quite rough, I understood why. So I wouldn't take offense to it.
So it took a lot. So basically, you understood who you were then. I mean, you know, part of Dawn is that the difference is you. It's about understanding who you are.
Right.
And I think because you know yourself so much that you actually were able to, obviously, when you approached this woman, knowing that you were much more senior than her, that you were prepared for anything to happen. But were you also saying, look, you would understand as well, this is obviously probably your mindset, that if she was to react, you understand why she's having that reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I try not to take it personally because it's just natural to feel like that. It just during, you know, in time, it's just gonna naturalize. It's just gonna be just structural. It's just the initial stage of that change. Yeah.
So with your where are you now with To Eros? I mean, how you know, you set up your business as soon as you done your MBA. How long ago was that, and how did you grow it?
2008 is when I launched the brand, and I worked on it for about a year prior. 2008 was launched. It took about 3 years to get the brand off the ground because I had no extra funds. I had $30,000. I had product and a website. That was it. And Facebook marketing wasn't available then, so you can't do Facebook ads. So it's really relying on blogs, social media press, and print press, and word of mouth to get your brand out. It took me 3 years to get some sort of...
I know. It took me 3 years as well to build my Dawn brand up, so I completely understand the building of the brand with nothing.
Right.
You had 30 grand, I had zero.
Oh. So I will help share the message through.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, people will start to follow once they trust in your brand.
That's right.
You know, and when you're consistent with your message and your story, and, you know, you'll attract the right customer to your brand. And that's what drives me that's what led me to you. And I believe in the message and the story behind Dawn, and I think it's very empowering. And we need your voice to be loud. So we'll be supporting you.
What was it that drew you to Dawn?
What drew me to Dawn? So diversity and supporting minorities and giving people who may be looking to find a connection with a network that they think that they're not part of. I think having a platform like this allows people to see things in another point of view, and to allow people who already feel like they can relate to certain people that's in your presentation, you know, seeing that they came from a similar background and were able to do something different, or people who could be inspired by certain people. I think it's just giving more voice to anyone who don't have a voice, and people who don't have a voice, giving them an opportunity to listen to other people that they may be related to. So
your interest that you shared about you coming out of the closet as well, in your 30. There'll be some questions that we put up later because we posted about that talking with you, and so there's a range of questions that people ask, and we'll throw to that.
Okay.
But how challenging was that for you, being an Asian male? You know, obviously to come out to obviously a conservative family. What was that? How did you kind of reconcile or struggle, or what was the struggle like? What was the journey like?
Okay. With family, I think family was the toughest one because it's the closest people in your life, and I left it till it's the last group of people to tell. I think it's the fear of being rejected and the fear of separation. Like it or not, you're scared that your parents might look at you in a different way. They go, yeah, that's my son, but it's not, you know, because you grow up, not just your family, but your extended family and your, you know, your extended family's friends, parents, and you know, when I talk about the just sexuality in that sense, it's never in a positive tone, and when you want to approach that topic, you fear that they will think of you in the same light. And you know, as you grow up, they don't say, "Oh, you're going to find a partner." They say, "When are you going to find a girlfriend? When are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids?" And then, you know, you kind of dodge that question by being polite to your parents, and not say, "I'm gay" to anybody else until you. Well, at least for me, I made sure I want to tell my parents before I told any other extended family's parents, out of respect. But that's a contradiction because I told everybody else,
Yeah.
but I told my parents.
Yeah.
So in my parents' circle, I made sure my parents knew first before their extended friends knew. And when they ask me questions like that, out of respect, I just try to dodge the question and say, I just haven't found the right one. To a point where it got too much, where, you know, as you get older, I think when you hit
3-0.
3-0, they're like, why aren't you married? What's wrong with you? And those questions starts to fly around, and then you're like, okay, yeah, there is something wrong with me in your eyes, not my eyes, but I'm happy for that. I'm not going to change any of that because that's just the way it is, and there's nothing I can do to change who I am. But when I came out.
What made you come out? What was the trigger?
I didn't want to grow up not having my family know the real me, and I don't want them to miss an opportunity to meet my partner and to start a family as well. So we are looking at that too. And I wanted to make sure that they know early so that they have enough time to absorb, or at least come to terms with it sooner rather than later. I don't want them to feel like it's a curse or
Yes,
or
in some family they think it's a curse.
yeah, yeah. I said it's just the way it is, and I said, you know, there's just certain things in your making that you can't change, and I was, you know, I had to be quite blunt in the way I delivered that information to say, if you can't change certain things about you, then there's certain things about me that I know I can't change. So why is it okay for me to accept everyone else's terms that they can't change, but you can't accept mine? And the more I drill into that idea, the more they understood. And then they kind of got it. Yes, okay, I get it now. I understand. And then when that happens, just normalizes. Everything just, they don't even care about it. They don't even bring it up. They don't even say anything. So we're in a position where he says, how come your partner's not here? Why isn't he here? Why is he not coming home? What did you guys fight? So, you know, I really wanted that to be part of my life. And it was...
How long did that take?
Less than a year. My parents took it quite... when I say less than a year, they were okay with it. It's just about a year they stopped asking. And I thought that would take longer than that because I have a girlfriend who also came out and they didn't accept it. So they just keep on fighting it every time she comes home. But they're okay now, but that took a long time. So I thought if I do it early, I at least have enough time. So when they do get older, they have enough time to accept it, and then we'll be normal, I think. So
listening to you telling that story, you must be very kind of resilient in a sense that were you prepared for their reaction, and you were able to cope with it mentally in terms of whatever reaction they were going to, you know.
Yeah, I did come prepared. So I made sure I had a good paid job because I don't want to be dependent on them. I don't want, if something were to happen, that I already have a place to stay. So I wanted to be stable in certain levels. And so I already started my business by that point.
Did your father give you the money before or after the?
Before. Was that quite strategic?
Was it quite strategic?
Right. So I did ask it before, and yes, yeah.
What was the reaction after?
No, that didn't even come up in the conversation. And you know what? My dad, my parents, when they, they always say it's a loan, but they never asked for it back. So, they never said, "Where's my payment back?" They never have ever once brought it up. So, when I did come out, the whole point, when I did come out, I came out, knowing that I had sound, stable, emotional support when I did come out. So if I had to deal with it, that I would have been fine. So, I started my business. It's something I can grow. I got at the time I was still working full time, so I got
with the same
job.
company, with the same.
No, by that time I've moved over to Macquarie part time, so I can work.
Macquarie Bank.
Yeah.
Right.
So I worked with Macquarie 3 days a week and getting paid the same amount part time, the same amount as I'm working full time in that company. So I was able to still grow my brand and work and get paid. So on the 2 days that I wasn't working, I worked on my brand, and I would pack my orders during lunchtime at work. So I'll take my orders to work, go to work, lunchtime, go to Australia Post, and deliver it out. And I did that for about 5 years.
Wow.
So, and then about the 5th year, the brand started to change. So that's when things starts to pick up. So I really wanted the brand to work. So I just kept on it. I just kept on it and kept on it and kept on it.
You believed in it so much? Like, was it something around the brand that in what you were doing that kept you doing that for 5 years? I mean, that is hard work, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's what I want to do. That's my dream. I wanted to establish a brand. I'd always had that dream as a kid. So I never thought it would actually happen, because it's, there's certain barriers that I had to get over. And I really wanted this to get up, and so I just kept on it and kept on it and kept on. I believed in it. I said, it's definitely going up, but it's not going up like that. It's going up like this. And then by the 5th year, it comes to a point where, I can somehow fund my own, myself to start growing this business. And that's when that part of my life started to say, hey, it's ready to take it to the next level. So it was like that for a very long time. Yeah.
And when did it turn? What happened for it to turn?
What happened? So when the wholesale order starts to increase, our business at the time, we didn't have a huge marketing budget, so we rely heavily on wholesale orders. So in that 5 years, we built a good wholesale business, contacting retailers and distributors. We got, at the time, about 2 distributors, one in the US and one in Europe, and they started to grow the retail base for us. So when they started to grow and people start knowing about our products and they're loving it, our order starts to grow. When our order starts to grow, our collection starts to grow. When that starts to grow, we got some funds coming in, and that was still me. I was still packing, ordering, marketing, web, one person for 5 years. And on the occasion, I'll hire my cousin to help me pack. So I did that for 5 years. And then the 6th year, I hired a permanent part-timer. And then
there's still hope for me. I've been relying on volunteers as well.
That's very good. No, volunteers are great because they actually have interest in your brand, and they learn as well. So we do have volunteers in photography and modeling. So whoever wants to volunteer, we'll say yes to.
So if you want to volunteer to model to Eros brand, let us know. Get in touch with us, or get in touch with Jason.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or hashtag us on social media. We can follow you.
Yeah. What's the hashtag?
You can hashtag 2EROS, 2EROS, or our other brand is Superwear. Hashtag SUPA.
Yeah.
WEAR, small plug.
Plug it away.
Got it.
Now we've got a few questions that we can put on up on the screen from some of our followers who've posted here. Oh, of course, there's one there.
Mm-hmm.
Have a read. So from Leonard, one can only imagine the seemingly impossible challenge of even conceiving into one of the hardest industry while battling with your own racial sexual identity. There must have been times when you go, it's too hard, I'm going to try to be normal or just follow the norm. Love to hear your dark, uncensored times you had and how you develop your mental strength.
Yeah. So, okay. Let's talk about racial first. So, for a long time, I wouldn't put my face towards the brand. And because I was fear that racially they would judge me based on the way I look. So I thought, being an Australian brand and an Asian person running a swimwear brand from Australia, it's like, are you really Australian? You know, you get that. I get that feeling that, am I being judged for being not looking in the Australian way? So the reason why is that when I travel, I travel for my work now about 5 times a year. Certain times they say, "Oh, you don't look Australian," and I say, "What does Australian look like?"
Yeah.
And so you get the same comment, and I'm like,
What's that? What are some of the, can you share? What's the comment of what they think Australians look like?
"Oh, it said you don't look Caucasian," and I'm going, "Oh, okay, but the true Australians are actually Aboriginals." And I said, okay, that's okay. So we're just like America. That's what I tend to say.
Yeah.
We're a pot full of mixed cultures. And say, okay. So, and I struggled with that internally for a long time. And then last year, I went to another business school because I always want to improve the way I run things and do things. So, and in that school has changed the way I see business and I see myself. And one of the first things that they really put forward is that you are the brand, and you should be proud, and you should be honored, and you should be talking about it all the time. Without you, there is no brand. And if they don't like you for the brand, they're not your customer. Because your story and your message and your designs is about you. So why aren't you talking about it and championing it? You need to be your own champion. If you can't champion yourself, how do you expect your customers to champion you?
The difference is you.
The difference is you. Yes, the difference is you. And then I start to think about, okay, what are my fears? My fears is public speaking. My fear is cameras.
Oh my God. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So I took steps into trying to get myself into a level where I'm comfortable to talk about certain things and, baby steps. And then when I got myself out of that headspace, the fear of what people say about who I am and what I am and what the brand is kind of like, doesn't bother me anymore. It's like, that's it. It is the brand because I did it. So you don't like it, then there's other brands you can support, but this is it. So so that's where I stood, and that's where I came from when I started to do this. And when there's an opportunity to, like this one, to speak about it, I thought, hey, it helped me. It helped me understand who I was, and I thought this will be a good way of helping other people who are similarly stuck in the way they think society thinks of them. Yeah.
Great. So you obviously respond to the sexual identity. Do you think? Yeah. You've got the mental strength. What lines or projects in your collections have been the most successful, and why do you think they have excelled? From Ben Trung. Okay,
so I think with any brand, when you start to being the same as anybody else, people will start to think, why should I spend your money in your store? If you're offering the exact same product in a different label, then they're going to go, nah, I'd rather spend the same amount for in Aussie Bum, for example, and why would I buy yours? So we had to look at our market and say what's important to us. So quality. So we choose exceptional fabrics that you could have in men's underwear, which there's not a lot of variety when it comes to fabric options. Fit. So we designed this curve technology. How I describe it is it's like a bra for a woman.
Do you going to design bras for women?
Well, I think that's one of the questions. Oh no, that's my friend's question. I think we are not experts at it yet, but once we develop a brand to a certain point, we'll be able to start researching development in offering a women's collection. But again, it has to be something different. If we're doing the same, then I don't think you'll come to Ross to buy a nice bra. You probably more likely have to stick to your own brand. So, and also I think we're also doing multi-use as well. So we've got one shorts that you could wear to the beach, to the gym, and to the bar. So you can dress it up, and that's our most popular selling item.
Right. So that's the most successful one, is it? What collections?
Yeah, it's called the Bondi shorts.
The Bondi shorts. There you go, Ben Chung.
Ben Chung. Yes.
How do you stand? So the next one's Ngea Bui. How do you stand out when there are so many underwear and swimwear brands in the market?
I guess part of that answer was what I said earlier. You have to offer something different, and by standing out, we don't just stand out with our fits and our fabrics, but also our model selections. We've got a diverse selection of campaign models, so we don't just choose a certain look which we choose based on a body shape. So you still need to have abs, you still need to have a chest, but we shoot globally. We got photographers in LA, Spain, obviously Sydney, Brisbane. We shot in Indonesia once. So we're very open because Australia is just a mix full of different cultures, and that's where we stand.
Linda Bonita, what's the best and worst part of the industry?
The best part of the industry.
Would it be part of the fashion industry, do you call it, or the underwear garment industry?
Well, yeah, it's both, I guess. So fashion is, if you talk about the fashion industry, it's about innovative fashion, and people go and have fashion shows to see the latest in trends. So if you're the leader in fashion, then it would be a fashion industry, and we would like to be called a fashion brand. We've got invited to LA Fashion Week this year, so
that's in July, August, isn't it?
There's one there too, I think. But we were in the March one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we just came back from that, and it was a successful show. We had about 16 models. I think I should bring up a topic in that.
Yeah, go on.
So we've been criticised on that for not having a lot of diversity, and I just want to address the reason why. The models were offered by the organisers over there, and I asked for a diverse selection. Depending on who says yes to the show is limited to what we are offered. So from the show, we had 16 models. They only had 18 to offer. So there was no Asians. There was no African Americans, and there's no one of darker tone. So
wow.
So we do have Hispanics and Europeans, but they're all fair toned skins. And someone brought up to me a few times, different people, and I'm all quite aware because that's what I stand for.
Yep.
And I just want to make it.
So would it something that you would raise up with the organizer in the future, in terms of who they provide? I mean that's another issue, and that's what Dawn is trying to actually really kind of cut through, is that those kind of organizers, the media, the what do you call them, the producers, those that are finding the clients, they are the ones that need to also provide the diversity of talent, so that obviously for people like yourself that you can actually have that.
Yeah, we will next time. We have no clue. We've never done a fashion show before. So we did ask for a diverse selection. We will, in future, put that in the contract and request to have them in as a selection. But what they got back to me on is, that's when they do the casting call.
That's called the casting. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that they didn't have those talents approaching. So that's so where do you sit on that? It's like, if there's no talents applying, how can we offer it to you? And that is a point in itself, and that raises the question of, why are they not? And if they're not, is it because they're not being booked? And they're not being booked, is it because no one wants to find a job in it? So if there's no job available, there's not going to be any talent. If there's no talent, what's the point? So it kind of goes around in circles. It's like saying, I think one of the issues people are talking about now is, how come, like the Oscars and why are there not more like leading roles in diverse cultures? Why are they all a certain type? So it's because they're not cast. If they're not cast, there's no jobs, and no one's going for it. So there are people there. There's people go to the gym. There's actors, but they're not cast. So if they're not casted, why would they apply?
There must be another way to crack that market. Do you know what I mean? Because if people aren't casting for diverse looks, and if they're not casting, so the people that are looking for them, they've got a perspective on what type of talent, what type of look that they're looking for and they're casting for. So that I reckon there should be another market for those that have diverse backgrounds, whereby they can actually have access to, that people like yourself can have access to them. For those models that are different.
I think I think creating the agency for that actually is a good step forward. But the second step is, will they be booked? That's the challenge. I know a lot of friends who actually created agencies to cast for diversity, and they pop up and then they disappear because they have the talent, they just don't have the jobs. So how do we create jobs for these talents? How do we encourage businesses to look beyond the norm, or would you say norm? Would you say norm? Yeah. So how do you do that? So what I do is I make a conscious effort to mix it up, because we are a mixed culture. So, every so-and-so we'll mix it up, and we deliberately ask to have certain type I just think it's important, because it's like for male beauty especially, it's only one-dimensional right now.
Oh, I think female too. Don't worry, it's not just... I look at the magazines, at the stands, news agents, and I look at the front cover. It's only one image. Yeah. Particular group, it's Anglo-Caucasian mainly. Yeah. And so you think in a society like Australia, where it's so diverse, that I cannot believe that our mainstream media publications, be it on television or print, it's not featuring the differences that we actually have in our society.
But that also, like when I go back to that question is, when it comes to TV, do we have talents that are going for those roles? Are they? And if they are, then you can ask the question, why are they not casted? Yeah. So it's really it's really on two sides of the fence. You could say that there are talents, but no one's casting. The person could say, we are casting, but no talents are coming in. Yep. So
we have got to find out.
We've got to find that out.
Yeah. Nadine, how can the fashion industry become more accessible and inclusive? I suppose that's just what we're just talking about, casting and people being available, isn't it?
That's two sides of the fence. So access is, where can we find them? And then how can they be inclusive is the booking side of things. How can we make a conscious effort to include everyone? So it's great to have an agency, but if no one's booking you, then your agency won't exist. So who can we align to that's happy to make a conscious effort to add diversity in their portfolio? And then that agency will exist. Otherwise, that agency sits on its own and will disappear. That's where I kind of struggle, because there's no agencies that says, hey, we're going to have this. But then we find a lot of talent on Instagram that we support. And that's how we find our talent. A lot of our fans tag us in their photos and we go, yeah, we love you.
Yeah.
And then we go, would you like to be in the shoot?
Yeah.
And that's how we find our talent.
Right.
So we have...
other ways now to find talent rather than through the casting route.
Well, that's hard because the agencies are not there. And the agencies usually book people that are regulars, but they need to make money too.
Yep. So where you are now, where are you at now with To Eros? What's happening? You know, what is there any other exciting news that you want to share? You know,
We turned 10 this year.
Oh, 10 years.
Yes, 10
when
years.
is the 10th? When is the 10th anniversary?
The 8th of June, so just a little under a month ago.
Oh, wow! Congratulations, 10th birthday.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. And what are you going to do? What's the plan for the next 12 months?
So we've migrated. So our website is gone. We migrated to a new platform because we outgrown our platform at the moment. So our online is our biggest growth now. So now we know how to sell. We don't need to rely on wholesalers. We are exhibiting in Pure London for the first time in July. This month.
This month?
Yes.
In a few weeks' time, are you flying to London?
London, yeah. And we're traveling around Europe to visit some of our buyers to expand there. We're already in 3 department stores, and I think another one's going to open up in Pattaya, Robinson. I think we've got 2 in Bangkok now. We want to start to ramp up our fashion shows, and we've been invited to a few already. So it's all budget, really.
Yeah.
Because, it's being invited is actually good for the brand, but then you have to be able to afford to continue. So,
yep.
Yeah.
So what's your aspiration? I mean, you dream to create a brand, and you've done that. Is there another second, phase to the dream? Yeah,
I want to turn To Eros into an established lifestyle brand. We want to get into the whole kit and caboodle. We want to do homewares. We want to do fragrances. We want to do body care eventually. So we want to do a hub. So we want to turn into a hub, almost like a H&M or some sort, or not that big. Well,
hey, why not?
Why not, right?
Why not? You have to dream big.
Dream big.
Yeah.
But that's quite a bit of brain power.
Well, let's see what we can do to support that.
Well, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. So, look, thank you so much for a wonderful conversation this morning and for sharing. And to our Dawncast audience there, if you have any questions for Jason, and if you want to get in touch with Jason, the hashtag again is...
you can hashtag our brand To Eros or hashtag Superwear with an A. I'm also on Instagram, so JayHoe1, JayHoe1. Yeah.
So follow Jason, support his growth, and looking forward to your diversity and inclusion journey in the fashion industry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll send you photos.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you. Die. I know people mix me Di and Dawn.
Because your brand is so strong now. Yeah.
And I become Dawn.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, did you enjoy that episode of Dawncast? Well, I hope you did. At Dawn, the difference is you. So hit the subscribe button below and leave a comment and tell us what you would like to hear more of in the future.